Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 25th of June. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined by a fully strength squad this morning. First of all, Chris Jack, how's it going, Chris?
Not too bad, Derek. Back on the right-hand side of my screen here. No other buttons to push, just the Rangers chat to get through the next half an hour. So pleased to have you back from your Euros experience.
Yeah, well, you've done a sterling job up on the Oki, so thank you for that. Stevie also played his part. I think you've been on for the last God knows how many days, Stevie, but good to have you back on. How are you doing?
I'm not too great this morning. My back is really sore, Derek. It must be from carrying this show for the last week. Well, I'm usually on your jollies, but nah, mate, I'm good. I'm good. It was a pleasure to be on with Chris, so it's been good fun. But back to normality now that the squad's back together. So
yeah, absolutely. And I get back like last night, midnight. I get in round about midnight, but it's good to start concentrating on the proper football now and not the kiddie on stuff happening over there in Germany. But before we talk all things Rangers, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors, MPH Boilers. They've got those brilliant Viessmann boilers on offer, folks. The all-important link is in the description below. Do go and check them out if your boiler is on the blink. Right, let's talk Rangers, because lots of news to get stuck into, both on the transfer front, new contracts being dished out, lots to discuss. We'll kick off firstly with a player that we have mentioned on a number of shows now, and that is Kenny McLean. Rangers, of course, keen on acquiring his services this summer. Boyhood Rangers fan, of course. It's whether they can strike a deal with Norwich City in bringing him back up the road. Chris, Kenny McLean, can you see this one happening?
I would like to see it happen. I've seen quite a lot of negativity online on this one over the last, not just the last a couple of days, over the last couple of weeks. Now, as you say, Derek, this is something that we have discussed, and I don't really understand the huge kind of groundswell of no, because again, a number of the comments that we see on the show and that we see on social media, there's people perhaps expressing a bit of weariness at some of the profile of the signings so far, or why we're signing so many development players, why we're signing so many younger players, when's the experience going to arrive? You then get to Kenny McLean in his early 30s, who has that experience, and it's a case of, no, he's over the hill, he's washed up, why are we going spending money on 32-year-old Kenny McLean? For me, I think this one makes a lot of sense. Rangers do need midfield options. They do need a bit of experience, certainly in that area of the pitch. People always mention the Rangers fan factor. It's safe to say that Kenny ticks that particular box as well. So I can understand why there's maybe a slight trepidation at putting too much money in terms of a fee. We know Rangers will have a limited budget in terms of transfer fees over the course of the window. But see, for me, I think at around about a couple of million, I think Kenny offers you something that we don't have, and it's not as if he is 36, 37. No, he's younger than Stephen Davis was when he came back. Now, Stephen Davis is a higher quality player. Steve Davis was a wonderful player for Rangers. You can't, and I'm not comparing the two, but just because someone is the wrong side of 30, if you like, doesn't mean to say that he's completely washed up.
Yep. Listen, I think it would make sense if Rangers can strike a deal with Norwich. I think he's got a couple of years left, but murmurings that there is a sort of clause in his contract that had Norwich not won promotion to the Premier League last season. They were thumped by Leeds United in the playoff semi-finals. Kenny McLean, Stevie, do you think you would add something to the Rangers squad? We've touched on them before, but as Chris said there, a lot of young guys coming into the squad. You do need a scattering of experience. Kenny McLean would certainly tick that box, would he not?
A couple of things I think to answer. First of all, Chris says he's not sure of why there's a kind of dissenting voices online. The reason why there's the dissenting voices online is Joey Barton, Graham Dorrans. We've been down this road before where we've got guys like this and they just come up and they're well past it and they're towing caravans. So I can see why there's a reservation amongst the support for this kind of deal. Chris, with all due respect, I think that's probably why it's more of a past kind of endeavours that have stung us. That is why the fan base are a wee bit more taking this with a wee bit of trepidation. But with regards to McLean himself, I think McLean's a cracking player. I think that he's a ball winner, and I think he's somebody that shows leadership and can drive on. He obviously supports the club, which is fine. But I'm not with you, Chris. I'm sorry. I would not spend a couple of million on Kenny McLean. If Kenny McLean was available for 500,000 or 750,000, then yeah. But our days of spending 2.5 million on guys that are 32 and stuff needs to be over. And I don't think Kenny McLean offers enough that I would go and break the bank for him at all. I genuinely think even $1 million tops, absolute tops, would be where I would be with Kenny McLean. And even if Kenny McLean does come in, I'm still looking for somebody to come in ahead of him. That's the kind of position I am with Kenny McLean. I think he'll be a fine squad player. I think he would do absolutely okay there. But I would not be having him come in and be wanting to pin my hopes on him playing 50 games a season, gentlemen. So, you know, I am a fan of Kenny McLean. Do I want him to come in? Yeah, but it's got to be the completely right deal for Rangers Football Club. And I wouldn't be wanting to spend 2.5 million on a 32-year-old and then, you know, possibly give him 30 grand a week. This is the issue that we've got currently of why this squad is so bloated with average players on too much money. So I'm not for paying a lot for Kenny McLean. If the deal's right and the deal's good for Rangers, then absolutely. But I'm a long way away from spending a lot of money or giving him big money or a big contract or anything like that. Absolutely not. I think Kenny McLean can play a part, but the deal's got to be right, Derek, for me to be on board with this. And I'm probably like everybody. I'm probably a wee bit stung by Barton and Dorrans and that kind of deal. But for experience and for squad, yeah, absolutely. It's got to be the right deal, though.
Yeah, I can't disagree with much of that. I would like to see him a player of that ilk at Rangers. Of course, Norwich have got a new manager in place there. Johannes Hoff Thorup is their new head coach. So it depends, of course, if he sees him as part of his plans next season. But he has been at Carrow Road for some time now. He had a really good season for the Canaries last season, but we all know his Rangers leanings. There was an interesting point, actually, from William. He says, if McLean was a Celtic fan, he wouldn't even be mentioned. So interesting point there. Bluebell would like to... Yep.
Sorry, can I just kind of murmur in on that? I don't think that's strictly true. Kenny McLean was cracking last year in the Championship.
No.
Statistically, he was one of the best ball winners and tacklers for duels and percentages and that in the whole league. He was also Norwich's Player of the Year, I'm led to believe, as well. So I don't think that's quite right. I don't think that being a case of the only reason he's getting linked because he's a Rangers player. I think the reason he's getting linked is because he did have a tremendous season. We need number 6. We need experience in the midfield. So I think to give him credit, and we should do that, is that he had a cracking year last year. So I know it may be a flippant comment, but I think that Kenny McLean's worth more than the only reason he's getting linked is he's a Rangers fan. He is a good player, but I'm just saying that for us and our past history and stuff, it's got to be the right deal for us.
Yeah. Bluebell with an interesting point. I'd love to see McLean come home. That's the experience we need to help these young players come through, even if only for a couple of years. So that is Kenny McLean, folks. Lots of comments coming in as well about a player potentially departing the club. Paul and many others raising this one. Thoughts on Palk rumour to be interested in Dessers. Chris, can you update us on this one?
No, unfortunately. I have. That's the short and sweet answer to that one. I've sent a message to someone this morning to try and find out what the latest is on that. So if the phone beeps in the next 20 minutes, I will be able to provide an update. But I don't think it's a massive surprise that Dessers has been linked with a move away. We spent many hours discussing his merits, his misses, his good points over the course of last season. I think we're all in agreement that even if Igamani comes in, Rangers will need to do more business in that number 9 area. They will have to go and strengthen that area of the pitch. Obviously, if Dessers was to move on, that then leaves another gap to be filled. I think a lot will depend on how much football he is happy to play next season. I don't think Rangers can go into the new season with Cyril Dessers as their main striker and as their main number 9. If he's happy to have a different role within the squad, then that potentially changes things. But I think you look at the fee that's tied up in him, the wages that are tied up in him, the return that Rangers got for that, I think he is one that could actually move on over the course of this window. But whether that is to Greece or not, I guess I'm still beavering away to try and find out for you.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, it's reports from Greece suggesting that the player is in advanced talks with PAOK Salonika. Stevie, will you be sad to see the big man go?
I had to look outside and check it wasn't Christmas. If somebody wants to pay 4 or 5 million for Cyril, then I'll quite happily shake his hand and thank him, and say well done, all the best. 22, 23 goals, whatever it was last season. Cracking effort for the big man, but it's fair to say that he's got his doubters, isn't it? So again, what Chris was saying there about having a kind of lesser role in the squad and stuff like that. But I'm again going to kind of a wee bit what Chris said. He's on too much money. We've invested far too much money on him to be second or third choice. And I thought it was interesting that as soon as Danilo was fit, even with a mask on, Danilo played in front of him right up until obviously his injury. If you think about that night in Tynecastle, Dessers was on the bench and he remained there while Danilo was fit in any way. So I think next season you're looking at Danilo being one of your 2 top starters. You maybe got Igamani backing them up and pushing them, and then you'll have a first choice 9 come in. So I think that's where we are. I think if Cyril goes, then you're definitely then reinvesting that money. But the bottom line is that Cyril Dessers has done well for Rangers. I think he has, absolutely. But if you can get £4 or £5 million, your money reinvested in a guy that's 29 and has split opinion of the support, I think that it's a huge deal to turn down for Rangers, and I'm not sure that we would entertain not taking that bid in any way. So always dubious about reports from other countries linking players because you never really know where it is. But bottom line is a PAOK Salonika, and bottom line is for most players that if they're going to pay for them, then we're going to be entertaining that. It's like the Tavernier goals and stuff, isn't it? It was nice it was noted to see that Tavernier was back in training yesterday, and there's been a lot of talk about him agreeing deals in Saudi and all that kind of stuff. And I think that one day Tavernier might end up out there, but I don't think that the reporting is as true as it is maybe be, advance wise. So my point being that there's a lot of discussion about ins and outs, Derek, but until they actually go, then we're just talking about it, aren't we? So
yeah, there
is a few to go. I still reckon that there'll be big outgoings, and I still think that'll happen in the coming weeks. Chris, I don't know what your opinion on that is, but I still think that this squad has got some big departures to come, Derek. So Cyril Dessers may be one of them.
Do you think, though, Rangers could recoup much, if not all, what they spent paid Cremonese for his services, Chris?
I think if you look at the famous YouTube compilation and you look at purely the stats, then there's probably quite a lot of value in Dessers. As long as that compilation doesn't include open goal misses and some of the poorer moments, shall we say, of his season, I think if you look at purely what he delivered in terms of goals, as Stevie mentioned there, to get 22, it is a good return. The problem is we watched him every minute of last season and know that it could easily have been 32. I don't think he would have got to 42, but given the number of chances that he missed, who knows? But you look at purely black and white, you say there's a guy who, in a Rangers side that for long parts of the season were not that great, he still managed to score 22 goals. He played a lot of football. He's shown that he's robust. I think he's shown that he is he's mentally strong enough to handle a club like Rangers. We've all spoken to him a number of times over the course of the season. He's a cracking big guy. I think he gets it here. I think he was strong enough mentally to survive here. But you look at the performances over the course of the season, and the goal return just wasn't there from a number of chances created. But I do think he will have a value. He's not been shy of a move over the course of his career. He's never really found a home where he has laid down foundations and then stayed for a number of seasons. He has moved about a lot. I'd love to see what he's recouped in signing on fees over the course of his time. But there's I think if you're a club that's looking for a proven-ish goal scorer, certainly at that Greek level, you can definitely see why there would be interest. I think if Rangers could get their money back on Dessers, get their money back on someone like Sam Lammers, I think that would represent two really good bits of business for the board and for the manager, for Niels Coppin. Me and Stevie spoke about this a bit yesterday in terms of some of the outgoings and also James Bisgrove not being there and how that would impact on things. Full focus is clearly on sorting the Ibrox issues at present in terms of the Copeland, but everything else is geared towards the transfer window, making sure that Rangers get the players in that they have to, and making sure that Rangers get proper value and get the deals done in terms of outgoings that they have to. So the manager involved in that in terms of I don't want him. It's then up to Niels Coppin and John Bennett as executive chairman to go and make those deals happen. As Stevie hinted at, as we spoke about yesterday, I think there will be a number of departures to come. The 5 that have left at the end of the contract, those 5 are not going to be the only ones that head out the door. Tav and Goldson are obviously the headline figures in that, but you look at someone like Dessers, you've got Hadji, you've got Lammers, then you've then got guys like Scott Wright, you've then got questions over someone like Matondo. I think there's questions over a number of players within that squad, and I think again, me and Stevie have been fairly strong in the fact it could be a dozen out and a dozen in. As I've not heard anything over the last couple of weeks to put me off that is round about that. If it turns out to be 11 in and 13 out, don't come back and give us a hard time. Or just try to give you a ballpark, just trying to give you a bit of idea of the kind of work that Rangers are looking to do. And hopefully now that the manager's back in the building, we will see these things ramp up a wee bit over the next couple of weeks.
Yep. Just on Dessers, Stuart Campbell with a point says it would be sad to see Dessers go. Harshly treated by a lot of so-called fans is what he says. Was a bit of a roller coaster of a season for Cyril Dessers, but yep, according to reports in advanced talks with POK Salonika over there in Greece. Danny gets in touch. He says, met you in Frankfurt yesterday, Derek. 15-hour journey home. It was Stuttgart, Danny, but you guys were headed over to Frankfurt. But I'll not hold that against you. I think jet lag and tiredness had set in by far by that point. Yep, it was a long journey for myself as well. Over to Munich and then Munich to Manchester late last night. But it's good to be back talking about all things Rangers. Now, one player who's put pen to paper on an extension is Robbie Fraser. He signed a new 2-year deal to stay at the club. He said that it's a special moment and a big day for people close to me, my family and friends. I take so much pride in being involved with this football club. It's a really good feeling to stay for a couple of more years. The manager has shown an added faith in the young players, and he's given me my opportunity in the first team, which I'm so happy about. I have a lot to be thankful for, and I can see positive strides for me going forward. He added, Clement said, we are delighted that Robbie has committed his future to Rangers. The academy is fundamental to the future success of the club, and Robbie has impressed with his quality and tireless work ethic. He joins a strong group of young players in the squad ahead of the 2024-25 campaign, and I look forward to his continued development as an individual. And Niels Coppin said, along with the players we are recruiting from elsewhere, it will always be our desire to give our own academy players an opportunity wherever we can. Robbie certainly deserves that, and we look forward to seeing how he develops. Our supporters always want to see home talent stepping up, and the chance to prove himself is there for Robbie. Stevie, good move for you. Robbie Fraser signing a new deal.
Yeah, Robbie's a boy that I like. We've spoke about it previously on this podcast about him staying behind probably Hefty and Yilmaz at left back, potentially. Yilmaz is probably another one, like Chris says, with a question mark over him if a team does come in with money for him. I like Robbie. I think that Robbie's got a future in football. Whether or not it's with Rangers will be up to how hard he works and how much he can make that breakthrough. But he's been given the opportunity. He's been given the platform to go and do it. 2 years is a decent length of contract for us, so we can see how he progresses during this season. But Robbie's a great lad. Like, personally, to know him, he's a really nice boy and he's a good lad. So we'd like to see him give it a chance, yeah, but he's got to earn it just like everyone else has. And, you know, I like him. I like Cole McKinnon. I think players like that have potentially got a future. I'd like to see more of both of them if we can. But pre-season is probably big for these boys, you know, because they'll tend to get more minutes in there in these games. So how much can they properly grasp it and show how good they are. So, yeah, interesting deal for us in terms of, as a youth player, it has given them the platform and things like that. So I am pleased. Yeah, I wouldn't be right to say that I'm not pleased. I am pleased about it. Robbie's a really good lad and stuff. I just hope to see him kick on and really take his opportunity now, Derek. So I think that's what it's all about.
Well, Ridvan and Jefty are there as well, Chris. So he's got his work cut out getting a starting spot in that team.
He does, but I think as Stevie said there, he mentioned the likes of Robbie and obviously Cole McKinnon. I think Rangers have to get better at bringing younger players through the academy and into the squad and giving them a chance. That's not to say you hand out jerseys and you hand out match time just because they've come through the ranks and they're in the building. You have to earn it. You have to be good enough. The fact I think that Robbie has signed a 2-year deal clearly shows the manager has a bit of faith in him. I know there was a lot of people, yourself included, Derek, that would have liked to have seen him introduced into the squad and into the team a bit earlier last season. There was various issues in terms of Borner's form and Ridvan's fitness at that time. The manager decided not to put him in until the last week or so of the season. But to get that contract is a big show of faith. Interesting to see how that left back role develops now. No, we do understand that Ridvan is one that he's happy at the club and he doesn't want to move on. But as we know with so many players, money talks, and if the right deal comes in, that might be something that both parties look at. But as it stands, we expect Ridvan to be in the squad as left back. Hefty, as you mentioned, where does he then fit in? I'll be giving him a bit of time to perhaps acclimatise to Glasgow and to Scottish football. So while that process is ongoing for him, there's every chance that Robbie Fraser becomes the backup left back and could find himself getting first team opportunities. If he does, as Stevie outlined there, he has to take it at this age, at this stage of his development. It really is never. If this season doesn't go well, I think we can write him off as a Rangers player.
Yep, big season on the way for Robbie Fraser, and I hope he does kick on and really show what he is made of. Good to see him getting that debut at the tail end of last season. Another bit of news as well, a new recruit. You'd have seen him linked a few weeks or a month or so ago. Andries Uldering, the Dutch coach. He's previously spent time at the likes of Reading and over there in his homeland as well. He's been an assistant manager last season, was it, at Royal Antwerp over there in Belgium. And he's also spent time at Ajax as well. But he's set to join Rangers as part of the Backroom staff. Now, it won't impact the role of Stefan van der Heyden, who was already there. Alex Ray and Brian Gilmore will still be part of the Backroom team as well. Stevie, thoughts on that?
I was just having a look at some of the stats from him or some of what he's really like. We had a great bit on it last night on our podcast, kind of talking about him in depth, his kind of stuff. But he he's said to be really good about kind of, he's got a book actually, and he talks a lot about player movements, formation, efficiency, ball possession, the transition between defence and offence, and also key for us, set piece effectiveness.
Yeah, good.
Just forget everything else. See if this guy can teach our squad how to take a corner, then you mean Cyril Dessers off to Greece and this guy coming in and taking set pieces. It could be, an exciting time for all of us. But no, in all seriousness, it's been suggested to me that he'll probably help in the transitions and stuff like that, and that'll be his kind of forte is such. I don't know anything about him, Derek. Look,
no.
You know what I mean? Like, what can you say? He's here. If he's here because the manager wants him here, which he will be, then, great. I'm pleased that Brian Gilmore and Alex Ray are staying on, especially for Alex, that I know how much the club means to him and stuff like that. So, listen, you're asking me as if I'm going to know who this guy is. I'm honestly not sure. So,
well, you've done your homework the last couple of shows, Stevie. So
I haven't done my homework. Shona does my homework for me, and then she tells me. So, but I would encourage everybody to go and listen to our pod from last night. That's got a kind of in-depth kind of feature on him and tells you what he's like. I can only kind of go on what other people have said to me in terms of he's good at kind of transition, and that's probably, I think, where we're going to need to strengthen quite a bit, Derek, isn't it? A lot of these players that we've brought in so far individually are all about that transition and getting forward quicker. So maybe that's going to be his role. And as for set piece effectiveness, then if he is going to be the man that's kind of pinpointed to do that and get a few corners and set pieces and make that work as well. It'd be nice if somebody could teach our squad how to take a throw in as well and have it not immediately returned to us, just making everything like that a wee bit better. But aye, the basics: score goals, take corners, take throws. You know what I mean? Adam Thornton somewhere will be, praying to the skies that happens. So, we'll just need to wait and see. It'd be nice if we can hear from him and hear from the manager and what his role is going to be from Clement himself and what Clement sees him bringing to the backroom staff and what role he's going to have. So, aside of that, welcome to him. Hope he makes a difference. And it's one, as Chris says, it's been rumoured for quite a while. So, just need to wait and see.
Yeah, the set piece thing has to improve, Chris, next season, doesn't it? Because last season it's just simply not good enough. It's a big part of the game these days, and not much, nowhere near enough variety. And it's something that I very much hope that the coaching staff and Andres Uldering will be working on this summer.
I think there's many areas of potential improvement from last season. It might seem to some people that it's a bit niche, it's a bit modern football, having someone who is a throw-in coach or a corner coach or a set-piece coach. But these marginal gains can all add up. If you can find those wee 1% everywhere, it can make the difference. You look at how last season unfolded. Rangers were miles away from it at certain points. They then got very, very close to it, but couldn't get over the line. And you do wonder in those key moments if you can handle certain situations better, whether that be tactically or mentally or physically, is also a big talking point over the course of the next few weeks and next few months. All these things add up. Now, Clement spoke about these 4 pillars of being the best side in 4 individual areas. Hopefully, someone like Uldering coming in will help in some of those areas. I have to agree with something that Stevie said there on Alec Ray and Brian Gilmer. Pleased to see them still being part of this coaching staff as well. And I know that the club were keen for Brian to have that academy experience that, as we spoke about earlier on, that should help younger players coming from the academy, making that transition into the first team, and having someone like Alex who's got that know-how of the club, know-how of Scottish football. I think that could be really important as well. I know the club were keen to retain the 2 specific skill sets that both of them bring to the staff. So I think it can only be a good thing. Also, the manager still has the dominant voice. It's still his team. It's still his squad. He's still the main man. But I think if he can have as many people round about him that can play their own role in the squad, on the training ground, on a match day, hopefully we start to see the benefits of that going forward.
Yeah, most definitely. We'll wrap up with a comment that came in from Bluebell just off the pitch as well. Direct us at yourself, Chris. It was news obviously that came out last week. We did a breaking news video on it, and you touched on it earlier about the Ibrox situation and where Rangers are likely to play in the first month of the season. What's happening with the stadium fixtures are due out on Thursday, so they must know something. As they say, silence is deafening from the chairman. Fixtures due out on Thursday. What's it looking like at this state of play? On the Rangers statement last week, Chris, it was very brief, it's fair to say, but they did say that they would update in due course about where these games will be played. Any inclination as to where that will be?
I think as we said on the show last week, and as I wrote in the analysis piece on the site last week, all roads lead out of Glasgow for Rangers in the first few weeks of the season. Also, that has yet to be officially confirmed, but as the comment said there, also with the fixtures due out this week, I think it's important that there's clarity for the fans. I think the club are fully aware of the backlash that there has been to this. I think they fully expect it to be as vociferous as it has been, and rightly so, because it's a monumental shambles that painting themselves into. They have to find a way out of it. And I say, as it stands, it looks like all roads will lead out of Glasgow and along them, mate, for the first few weeks of the campaign.
Yep. As soon as we hear something, folks, we will update you. So keep your eyes peeled on our social media channels on YouTube and also on the website as well with regards to that. Right, that'll do us there. Big thanks to Stevie and to Chris for joining me as ever. Very much enjoyed being back on talking about a proper football team in Rangers. So that's good to be back. And we will be back on all week. Joshua, I think, is back at some point this week as well. So I think he's been off for the last... can't remember the last time he was on, so it'll be good to have him back talking all things Rangers as well. Just a heads up, folks, if you haven't seen on the website over the weekend, Adam's done a scout report on Clinton Enciala, so do go and check it out. And those of you that are Ranger Review Extra members, we also had a chat about him on the channel, so do go and check that out. Chris has got a transfer piece on the website as well, so lots of content both on the website and on the YouTube channel to get stuck into at this moment in time. Right, thank you for tuning in as ever. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.